YouTube. Okay. We are live. Okay. We are ready to go. And let's go to the guitar and we will chat. Okay. Rotten hay, giant, giant mother of die. Rotten hay, giant, giant mother of die. Daruni mandala maite. Taruni mandala maite. Riding hay, giant, giant Madhavadai. Riding hay, giant, giant Madhavadai. Vardhana Vaishe Adi Diskuturana Vineshe Damodharurati Vardhana Vaishe Adi Diskuturana Vineshe Shachileke, Lalita Sati Guna Ramita, Vishake, Vishabanu Dadi, Namashachileke, Lalita Sati Guna Ramita, Vishake, Rande Jaya Jaya Madhavadai. Haribo, 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 Haribo. Jai Om Vishnupad, Paramahansa, Paravatikacharya, also Teta Satoshi Shimad, His Divine Grace, Abhaya Chanana, the Bhaktivedanta, Goswami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Anantakoti, Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya, Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha, Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Sayam Kunda, Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavanam Ki Jai, Maturanam Ki Jai, Jagatasami Ki Jai, Yamunamai Ki Jai, Shrimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nama Om Vishnupadaya, Krishna Prastaya Budale, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste, Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Pacharani Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschachate Shatarni. So we're continuing with our reading of the Krishna book. How's that? And we are on chapter 64. And okay, checking the calendar, nothing today. So we're on chapter 64 today, and we're going to be hearing about King Nrga. King Nrga, of course, is the personality who got some very interesting reactions just from making a mistake. So let's go on to the Krishna book. Om Gana Timiranda Shah Gananjana Shlakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shigurve Namaha. Actually, I forgot to read the translation to this poem. Shri Radhakastava, O Radha, all glories unto you, beloved of Madhava, object of worship for all the young girls of Gokula. You dress yourself in such a way as to increase Lord Damodar's love and attachment for you. You are the controller of Vrindavan, the pleasure groves of Lord Hari. You are a new moon arisen from the ocean of Kirtida and Vrishabhanu. You are the friend of Lalita, and your wonderful qualities, friendliness, kindness, and faithfulness to Krishna, endear you to Vishaka. You are an ocean of compassion, and your divine characteristics are described by the four Kumaras, Sanaka, Sanatan, Sananda, and Sanat Kumar. O Radha, please be merciful to me. So let's go on and start reading the Krishna book, Srila Prabhupada's Krishna book. We are so fortunate to have Krishna's pastimes in this particular form, story forms, but at the same time you have Prabhupada's commentary on the story form. So you get everything. You get the philosophy, you get the pastimes, you get the instructions in Krishna consciousness, everything rolled into one in this Krishna book. That is Prabhupada's mercy manifestation, his writing. Okay, so let's go on. Chapter 64. The deliverance of King Nrga. Okay. Let's set this up. All right, we are ready. Once, the family members of Lord Krishna, such as Samba, Prajuna, Charu, Banu, and Gada, all the princes of the Yadu dynasty went for a long picnic in the forest near Dwarka. In the course of their excursion, all of them became thirsty, and so they tried to find out where water was available in the forest. When they approached a well, they found no water in it. On the contrary, within the well was a wonderful living entity. It was a large lizard, and all of them were astonished to see such a wonderful animal. They could understand that the animal was trapped and could not escape by his own effort. So out of compassion, they tried to take the large lizard out of the well. Unfortunately, they could not get the lizard out, even though they tried to do so in many ways. When the princes returned home, their story was narrated before Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna is the friend of all living entities. Therefore, after hearing the appeal from his sons, he personally went to the well and easily got the great lizard out simply by extending his left hand. Immediately upon being touched by the hand of Lord Krishna, the great lizard gave up its lizard shape and appeared as a beautiful demigod, an inhabitant of the heavenly planets. His complexion glittered like molten gold. He was decorated with fine garments, and he wore costly ornaments around his neck. How the demigod had been obliged to accept the body of a lizard was not a secret to Lord Krishna, but still, for others' information, the Lord inquired. So Krishna understood because, what? As the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he knows everything. Past, present, future. As the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he's in everyone's heart. He knows your feelings. He's the, the Kshetragya, the knower of all bodies and the knower of all souls. Anyway, he's omniscient. My dear fortunate demigod, now I see that your body is so beautiful and lustrous. Who are you? We can guess that you are one of the best demigods in the heavenly planets. All good fortune to you. I think you were not meant to be in this situation. It must be due to the results of your past activities that you were put into the species of lizard life. Still, I want to hear from you how you were put into this position. If you think that you can disclose this secret, then please tell us your identity. Actually, this large lizard was King Nrga, and when questioned by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he immediately bowed down before the Lord, touching to the ground the helmet on his head, which was as dazzling as the sunshine. Oops. I went a little too far ahead here. In this way, he first offered his respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord. He then said, My dear Lord, I am King Nrga, the son of King Ikshwaku. If you have ever taken account of all charitably disposed men, I am sure you must have heard my name. My Lord, you are the supreme witness. You are aware of every bit of work done by the living entities, past, present, and future. Nothing can be hidden from your eternal cognizance. Still, you have ordered me to explain my history, and I shall therefore narrate the full story. King Nrga proceeded to narrate the history of his degradation caused by his karma kanda activities. So, of course, karma kanda activities are different than devotional activities. Karma kanda activities are activities executed according to Vedic injunctions, not in opposition to Vedic injunctions. Those in opposition to Vedic injunctions would be called vikarma kanda, or the path of sinful activities. Anyway, so these are activities executed according to Vedic injunctions to get a favorable result for yourself materially, ultimately, to go to the heavenly planets and enjoy life. And as Krishna says in the Gita, Shanai Punya Lokam Vishanti, that when one's pious activities or results of karma kanda activities run out, then you come back down to the earth planet. He said that he'd been very charitably disposed and given away so many cows that the total was equal to the number of particles of dust on the earth, stars in the sky, or drops of water in a rainfall. According to the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies, a man who is charitably disposed is recommended to give cows to the brahmanas. From King Nrga's statement, it appears that he followed this principle earnestly. However, as a result of a slight discrepancy, he was forced to take birth as a lizard. In other words, executing these karma kanda activities has to be done very carefully, because if you pronounce a mantra wrong, if you make a mistake, you may get the opposite result. So you're very, very careful. For example, there's one example of karma consciousness is that you're supposed to pass away from your body at a certain time when the sun's going to the north. That's why we understand that grandfather Bhishma passed away around December 23rd, which is when the sun starts to go to the north, right? And we also understand grandfather Bhishma passed away during the month of December because the Gita Jayanti, the Gita was spoken during the month of December. Although many people may say, oh, Bhishma passed away during the Bhishma Panchaka. Well, not true, or after the Bhishma Panchaka. Not true at all, according to all evidence that we have. So anyway, so there's this injunction, even mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, those who pass away during the dark fortnight, etc., when the sun is going to the south, and then when the sun is going to the north, then this happens and that happens. And so a devotee is not concerned. A devotee can pass away when the sun is going to the south. A devotee can pass away during the dark fortnight. A devotee can pass away anytime as long as they remembers Krishna. So we're not interested, because these karma activities, you make one little error. Just like you have, okay, here you have, even the example of Nanda Maharaj bathing in the river on the Dwalasi day, and he made a mistake of bathing a little too early, and then he got kidnapped by Varuna. So, of course, this is all pastime. It's not that he was executing karma activities. Also, with the Indra Puja stuff and everything like that. So one has to be very, very, very careful when executing karma activities. And even if you do it well and you get your result, you use up that good karma very, very quickly, and then you have to come back to the Earth planet, or you have to, again, start to accrue good karma. It's like using up your money. Therefore, it is recommended by the Lord in Bhagavad Gita that one who is charitably disposed and desires to derive the benefit of his charity should offer his gifts to please Krishna. To give charity means to perform pious activities by which one may be elevated to the higher planetary systems, but promotion to the heavenly planets is no guarantee that one will never fall down. Rather, the example of King Nrga definitely proves that fruit of activities, even if very pious, cannot give us eternal blissful life. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, the result of work, either pious or impious, is sure to bind a man unless the work is discharged at yajna on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And I'm just thinking of a story that I read recently in the Mahabharata about King Nahusha, who was so pious he went to the heavenly planets. And what happened is that at one particular juncture, he had to take over the work of Indra, because Indra had committed the sinful activity of killing Vritrasura. He killed Vritrasura, and so Indra was just like left, and he became powerless, and some descriptions are that he was living within the stem of a lotus flower. But anyways, Nahusha became the new Indra, so to speak, and in order for him to agree to take the post of Indra, he had all the sages and other demigods invest all their potency in him. And basically, it was said that anyone who wanted to oppose him or attack him, he would actually take away their, or become, or absorb their potency and be able to defeat them. So he could not be defeated. And then he became very, very proud and started just bossing around all the demigods. And eventually, he developed a desire to have Sakshi, who was Lord Indra's wife, as his wife. And he started to apply some pressure in that regard. And she went to Brahaspati to take some shelter of Brahaspati. And Brahaspati said, I'm not going to neglect you, but still, we got to do something. Just hold him off for some time. Promise him that when you find, or you're going to look for your husband, and if you don't find him, you'll be glad to accept it. So just like delay, delay, delay. Okay. Delay, delay, delay. So she went looking for Indra, and she found Indra in the stem of a lotus flower, the little fibers of a lotus flower. And she basically asked what she should do, and Indra basically told her, you should agree, but say that he should come, if he wants you, he should come to see you in a very special palanquin. A palanquin that is held up by the Sapta Rishis, that means the 7 great sages, like Agastya Muni, Angira, etc. So, he very enthusiastically, Nahusha very enthusiastically agreed to this proposal, and he went to the Saptarishis and made them carry his palanquin. Ooh. And as they were carrying his palanquin, they had to rest a little bit. He had some philosophical discussion with them, and he got angry at one of them, I believe it was Agastya, and he kicked or touched Agastya Muni with his foot. And when he touched him with his foot, he committed an offense. Even though he was so pious, he was in charge of the heavenly planets and everything like that. Then, as a result of that, he got cursed to fall down. And so the way he fell down was quite interesting. He became a serpent, a big snake. And of course, that snake later on entrapped Bhimsen of the Pandavas. And that snake later on had a whole discussion with Yudhisthira Maharaj, and therefore the snake was actually freed, or the serpent to be more exact, or precise. The serpent was actually freed from his serpent body, and he went back to the heavenly planets, and he learned his lesson. So it's pretty useless to perform karma kanja activities because the result is temporary, and if you're lucky enough to get the result. And then if you commit some mistake while you're in the heavenly planets, not only if your good karma runs out, but if you commit some mistake, then you get kicked out and may become a snake. So King Nrga became a lizard, not a snake. But he didn't do anything wrong, basically. Just made a little tiny mistake, in which we're going to hear about. King Nrga said that the cows he had given in charity were not ordinary cows. Each one was very young and had given birth to only one calf. They were full of milk, very peaceful and healthy. All the cows were purchased with money earned legally. Furthermore, their horns were gold-plated, their hooves were bedecked with silver plating, and they were covered with necklaces and with silken wrappers embroidered with pearls. He stated that these valuably decorated cows had not been given to any worthless person, but had been distributed to first-class brahmanas, whom he had also decorated with nice garments and gold ornaments. The brahmanas were well qualified, and since none of them were rich, their family members were always in want for the necessities of life. A real Brahmin never hoards money for a luxurious life like the Kshatriyas or the Vaishyas, but always keeps himself poverty-stricken, knowing that money diverts the mind to materialistic ways of life. To live in this way is the vow of a qualified Brahmana. And all of these Brahmanas were well situated in that exalted vow. They were all well learned in Vedic knowledge. They executed the required austerities and penances in their lives, and were liberal, meeting the standard of qualified Brahmanas. They were equally friendly to everyone. Above all, they were young and quite fit to act as qualified Brahmanas. Besides the cows, they were also given land, gold, houses, horses, and elephants. Those who were not married were given wives, maidservants, grain, silver, utensils, garments, jewels, household furniture, chariots, etc. Pretty wealthy Brahmanas. This charity was nicely performed as a sacrifice according to the Vedic rituals. In other words, the king didn't just like say, "Oh, here's all the stuff, guys." He did it as a ritual and did the right mantras as he was giving it to them, and I guess there was a fire sacrifice or something. The king also stated that not only had he bestowed gifts upon the Brahmanas, but he had performed other pious activities, such as digging wells, planting trees on the roadside, and installing ponds along the highways. The king continued, "In spite of all this, unfortunately, one of the Brahmanas' cows that I had given in charity chanced to enter amongst my other cows. Not knowing this, I again gave it in charity to another Brahmin. As the cow was being taken away by this Brahmin, his former master claimed it as his own, stating, 'This cow was formerly given to me, so how is it that you are taking it away?' Thus there was arguing and fighting between the two Brahmanas, and they came before me and charged that I had taken back a cow I had previously given in charity. To give something to someone and then to take it back is considered a great sin, especially in dealing with a Brahmana. When both Brahmanas charged the king with the same complaint, he was simply puzzled as to how it had happened. Thereafter, with great humility, the king offered each of them 100,000 cows in exchange for the one cow that was causing the fight between them. He prayed to them that he was their servant and that there had been some mistake. Thus, in order to rectify it, he prayed that they be very kind upon him and accept his offer in exchange for the cow. The king fervently appealed to the Brahmanas not to cause his downfall into hell because of this mistake. A Brahmana's property is called a Brahmaswa, and according to Manu's law, it cannot be acquired even by the government. Both Brahmanas, however, insisted that the cow was theirs and could not be taken back under any condition. Neither of them agreed to exchange it for the 100,000 cows. Thus, disagreeing with the king's proposal, the two Brahmanas left the place in anger, thinking that their lawful possession had been usurped. After this incident, when the time came for the king to give up his body, he was taken before Yamaraj, the superintendent of death, who asked him whether he first wanted to enjoy the results of his pious activities or suffer the results of his impious activities. Seeing that the king had executed so many pious activities and charities, Yamaraj also hinted that he did not know the limit of the king's future enjoyment. In other words, there would be practically no end to the king's material happiness. But in spite of this hint, the king, bewildered, decided first to suffer the results of his impious activities and then to accept the results of his pious activities. Therefore, Yamaraj immediately turned him into a lizard. Of course, the king had some reasoning there. Just like if you know that you have to either suffer first or enjoy first, and your suffering is going to be very minor compared to the enjoyment. You want to get the suffering over with, because if you're doing the enjoyment and thinking, "Oh my God, in the future I'm going to have to suffer," it actually impinges upon your ability to enjoy, isn't it? So you want to do the things that are a little bit less pleasant first. Just like, I remember when I was young, when you eat a sandwich means 2 pieces of bread, and each and every piece of bread had a crust. You would eat the crust first, so you would actually get to the center portion of this sandwich. So you want to get rid of the stuff that wasn't as nice before you got to the super nice stuff. Of course, nice from a karmi standpoint is different from nice from a devotee standpoint. Anyway, so that's one thing we can learn here. And another point is that no matter how many pious activities you execute, it doesn't counteract the impious activities. So you would think, okay, you would think it's like money, you're like $10 million. Oh, yeah, you have a debt for $5. So take a little bit of that 10 million, it's be $9,999,995. $5 less my head's not gonna hurt you. And pay off the $5. But the law of karma doesn't work like that. The law of karma is that you have to both suffer and enjoy. One doesn't negate the other, which is really interesting. So how do you get rid of bad karma? Of course, we understand that all karma, bad and good, is eradicated by the process of bhakti, specifically by the chanting of Krishna's holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. By chanting Krishna's name, even namabhas, that means meaning something else, jokingly, derisively, etc., then all the karma goes away, even the prarabdha karma. Of course, the prarabdha means the karma that you're experiencing the result of right now. Like this body is a symptom of your prarabdha karma. So if the prarabdha karma goes away, then does the body go away? No, because Krishna directly takes over everything at that particular point. He's not going to just take away your prarabdha karma and then you just melt into a puddle on the ground. But a real devotee doesn't have karma at all, as long as he continues to follow. Now, if he doesn't follow and he still chants and he thinks the chanting is going to get rid of all the sinful reactions, ain't going to work. Ain't going to work. It doesn't work like that. You just like commit some sin, and okay, Haribol. Commit some sin, Haribol. Okay, I'm fine. Jai Haribol. Doesn't work. So anyway, so we can see this, that King Nrga had to both suffer and enjoy. He chose the suffering first. King Nrga had remained in the well as a big lizard for a very long time. He told Lord Krishna, in spite of being put into that degraded condition of life, I simply thought of you, my dear Lord, and my memory was never vanquished. It appears from these statements of King Nrga that persons who follow the principles of fruitive activities and derive some material benefits are not very intelligent. Being given the choice by the superintendent of death, Yamaraj, King Nrga could have first accepted the results of his pious activities. Instead, he thought it better first to receive the effects of his impious activities and then enjoy the effects of his pious activities without disturbance, which I mentioned before. Because otherwise your mind is always going to be thinking, when is the bad reaction coming? So get the bad over with first, and then with a clear mind you can really disfrute in Spanish. You can enjoy life. On the whole, I'm not suggesting that for devotees. I'm saying chant Hare Krishna, don't worry about the bad, don't worry about the good, just worry about bhakti, loving Krishna, doing what Krishna wants. On the whole, he had not developed Krishna consciousness. The Krishna conscious person develops love of Godhead Krishna, not love for pious or impious activities. Therefore, he is not subject to the results of such action. As stated in the Brahma Samhita, a devotee by the grace of the Lord is not subject to the reactions of fruitive activities, somehow or other. As a result of his pious activities, King Nrga had aspired to see the Lord. He continued, my dear Lord, I had a great desire that someday I might be able to see you personally. I think that this great desire to see you, combined with my tendency to perform ritualistic and charitable activities, has enabled me to retain the memory of who I was in my former life, even though I became a lizard. So, why did he see Krishna? Not because of the pious or impious activities. He saw Krishna because he had a great desire to see Krishna. So some people misunderstand this whole chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, thinking, if you commit or if you perform enough pious activities, you get devotional service. No. Haitakiya pratyata. Pious activities are not a cause of devotional service. Devotional service is causeless. In other words, there's no material cause. There's a spiritual cause, which is Krishna's mercy, and also the spiritual cause, your desire. Desire is not material. His great desire to see Krishna was not material. It was some bhakti there. And that's what gave him the association with Krishna. Not because he gave away oodles of cows in charity. No. That simply situated him in good karma and the mode of goodness. But what actually saved him was his desire to see Krishna. Such a person who remembers his past life is called Jati Smara. In modern times, also there are instances of small children recalling many details of their past lives. My dear Lord, you are the super soul situated or seated in everyone's heart. There are many great mystic yogis who have the eyes to see you through the Vedas and Upanishads to achieve the elevated position of realizing that they are equal in quality with you. They always meditate on you within their hearts. But although such exalted persons may see you constantly within their hearts, they still cannot see you face to face. Therefore, I am very much surprised that I am able to see you personally. I know that I was engaged in so many activities, especially as a king. Although I was in the midst of luxury and opulence and was subject to so much of the happiness and misery of material existence, I'm so fortunate by seeing you personally. As far as I know, when one becomes liberated from material existence, he can see you in this way. When King Nrga elected to receive the results of his impious activities, he was given the body of a lizard because of the mistake in his pious activities. Thus, he could not be directly converted to a higher status of life like a great demigod. However, along with his pious activities, wait a second. However, along with his pious activities, he thought of Krishna, so he was quickly released from the body of a lizard and given the body of a demigod. By worshiping the Supreme Lord, those who desire material opulence are given the bodies of powerful demigods. Sometimes the demigods can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face, but they are still not yet eligible to enter into the spiritual kingdom of the Vaikuntha planets. However, if the demigods continue to be devotees of the Lord, the next chance they get, they will enter into the Vaikuntha planets. So, this is a very interesting point, that the demigods are generally what we call sa-kama devotees. Another type of devotee, of course, is the nishkama devotee. A devotee has no material desires, but simply the desire to please Krishna. Anyavilashatashiryam jnanakarmanavritam anukuyena kulyena krishnadashilanam bhakti uttamam. That's a nishkam devotee. And some of the demigods are nishkam. You have, for example, Lord Shiva. He's nishkam, and at this particular juncture, in our particular universe, Lord Brahma is a pure devotee of the Lord. But we see in the case of demigods like Indra, and this is not to criticize Indra, I'd just like to repeat some stories, that Indra, slips sometimes. He goes after sages' wives, and really just, anyway, has a relationship with them. Or he steals horses when people are performing the Ashvamedha sacrifices, because he doesn't want anyone to perform 100 Ashvamedha sacrifices because they might take over his position. And, even Indra gets angry with the Supreme Lord when he doesn't get worshipped by the residents of Vrindavan. He gets angry with the Supreme Lord when the Lord took a Parijata plant from the spiritual world, not from the spiritual world, from the heavenly planets. So you see that they're like that. And the demigods, they take great pleasure in seeing all these dancing girls, the apsaras, and like that. Whew. Great pleasure. Sometimes very lusty affairs. Sometimes you hear about one of them stealing another one's wife. So that's the demigods. But they're devotees, but not generally devotees of the first class. That's the difference. They're devotees, Sakam devotees. And generally you find in this world most devotees are Sakam devotees. Not only the demigods, but most of us. We're Sakam devotees. We First of all, we join the movement, Chaturvada Bhajanti Mam, because we're looking for knowledge, we're looking for wealth, we're inquisitive, or we're in distress. That's a kama or desire. And we continue to serve for a variety of self-centered purposes, even to the point of serving, mukti, or trying to obtain mukti, just like Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhukti Mukti Siddhikam Sakaleya Shanta, Krishna Bhakta Nishkam Ataiva Shantam. That one wants to be peaceful, then one has to be nishkam, which imagine nishkam devotees, who simply want to serve Krishna. But, in general, we see that people have some ulterior motives, ulterior purposes, ulterior motives. And we have to be practical. We can't pressure people into becoming more pure than they actually are. Having attained the body of a demigod, King Nrga continued to remember everything said, "My dear Lord, you are the Supreme Lord and worshipped by all the demigods. You are not one of the ordinary living entities. You are the Supreme Person, Purushottama. You are the source of all happiness for all living entities. Therefore, you are known as Govinda, he who pleases the senses. You are the Lord of those living entities who have accepted material bodies and those who have not yet accepted material bodies." Prabhupada said, among the living entities who have not accepted material bodies are those who hover in the material world as evil spirits, jinns, or live in the spiritual kingdom, the Vaikuntha Lokas, have bodies not made of material elements. You, my Lord, are infallible. You are the supreme, the purest of all living entities. You live in everyone's heart. You are the shelter of all living entities. Narayana means the rest of all living entities. Being seated in the heart of all living entities, you are the supreme director of everyone's sensual activities. Therefore, you are called Rishikesha. Means the proprietor and enjoyer of everyone's sensual activities. My dear Supreme Lord Krishna, because you have given me the body of demigod, I will have to go to some heavenly planet. So I am taking this opportunity to beg for your mercy. I pray that I may have the benediction of never forgetting your lotus feet, no matter to which form of life or planet I may be transferred. You are the cause of all causes, and your power is unlimited. You are the absolute truth, the supreme personality of Godhead, and the supreme Brahman. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you again and again. My dear Lord, your body is full of transcendental bliss and knowledge, and you are eternal. You are the master of all mystic powers. Therefore, you are known as Yogeshvara. Kindly accept me as an insignificant particle of dust at your lotus feet. Before entering the heavenly planets, King Nrga circumambulated the Lord, touched his helmet to the Lord's lotus feet, and bowed before him. Seeing the airplane from the heavenly planets present before him, he was given permission by the Lord to board it. After the departure of King Nrga, Lord Krishna expressed his appreciation for the king's devotion to the Brahmanas, as well as his charitable disposition and his performance of Vedic rituals. Therefore, it is recommended that if one cannot directly become a devotee of the Lord, one should follow the Vedic principles of life. This will enable him one day to see the Lord by being promoted either directly to the spiritual kingdom or indirectly to the heavenly kingdom, where he has the hope of being transferred to the spiritual planets. At this time, Lord Krishna was present among his relatives who were members of the Kshatriya class to teach them through the exemplary character of King Nrga. He said, even though a Kshatriya king may be as powerful as fire, it is not possible for him to usurp the property of a Brahmin and utilize it for his own purpose. If this is so, how can ordinary kings who falsely think themselves the most powerful beings within this mature world usurp a Brahmin's property? I do not think that taking poison is as dangerous as taking a Brahmin's property. For ordinary poison, there is treatment. One can be relieved from its effect, but if one drinks the poison of taking a Brahmin's property, there's no remedy for this mistake. The perfect example is King Nrga. He was very powerful and very pious, but due to the small mistake of unknowingly usurping a Brahmana's cow, he was condemned to an abominable life of a lizard. Ordinary poison affects only those who drink it. An ordinary fire can be extinguished simply by pouring water on it, but the Rani fire, ignited by the spiritual potency of a Brahmana, who is dissatisfied, can burn to ashes the whole family of a person who provokes such a Brahmana. Formerly, the Brahmanas used to ignite the fire of sacrifice not with matches or any other external fire, but with their powerful mantras called Arani. If someone even touches the Brahmana's property, his family is ruined for 3 generations. However, if a Brahmana's property is forcibly taken away, the taker's family for 10 generations before him and 10 generations after will be subject to ruination. On the other hand, if someone becomes a pure Vaishnava or devotee of the Lord, 10 generations of his family before his birth and 10 generations after will be liberated. Lord Krishna continued, if some foolish king who is puffed up by his wealth, prestige, and power wants to usurp a Brahmana's property, he should be understood to be clearing his path to hell. He does not know how much he has to suffer for such an unwise act. If someone takes away the property of a very liberal Brahmana who is encumbered by a large dependent family, then such a usurper is put into the hell known as Kumbi Paka. Not only is he put into this hell, but his family members also have to accept such a miserable condition of life. A person who takes away a Brahmana's property, whether it was originally given to him, by him or by someone else, is condemned to live for at least 60,000 years as a miserable insect in a stool. Therefore, I instruct you, all my boys and relatives present here, do not even by mistake take the possession of a Brahmana and thereby pollute your whole family. If someone even wishes to possess such property, let alone attempts to take it away by force, the duration of his life will be reduced. He will be defeated by his enemies, and after being bereft of his royal position, when he gives up his body, he will become a serpent, giving trouble to all other living entities. My dear boys and relatives, therefore I advise you that even if a Brahmin becomes angry with you and calls you by ill names or curses you, still you should not retaliate. On the contrary, you should smile, tolerate him, and offer your respects to the Brahmana. You know very well that even I myself offer my obeisances to the Brahmanas with great respect 3 times daily. You should therefore follow my instruction and example. I shall not forgive anyone who does not follow them, and I shall punish him. You should learn from the example of King Nrga that even if someone unknowingly usurps the property of a Brahmin, he is put into a miserable condition of life. Thus, Lord Krishna, who was always engaged in purifying the condition of living entities, gave instruction not only to his family members and the inhabitants of Dwarka, but to all the members of human society. After this, the Lord entered his palace. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 64th chapter of Krishna, the story of King Nrga. Okay, perfect timing. Okay, so now we can stop sharing and we can allow you to ask some questions about this particular story. Okay, Gopal, you have a question.
Please accept my obeisance, Shri Gurudev. So all throughout Bhagavad Gita and all throughout all of Prabhupada's books and Krishna's teachings, Krishna talks about Brahmanas being known by their qualities and work and not by birth or some other external factor. And also Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that the quality of a Brahmana is forgiveness. So once the Brahmanas in King Nrga's court had decided not to forgive King Nrga, how is it that they're still considered qualified Brahmanas and that he was punished for insulting them?
Well, they decided that because they wanted to punish him. See, a Brahmin forgives, but he also is aware of what's best for each and every person. And if what's best for that person is to be punished by a curse, just like Narada Muni cursed Manigriva and Nalakuvara, right? And Narada is the best of the Brahmanas. And there's so many stories about Brahmanas cursing others for their benefit. And actually, so it was actually for King Nrga's benefit. So sometimes a curse is necessary, or Brahmana's anger is necessary in order to teach the person a lesson. So that's why.
I see.
So Brahmana, like Prabhupada, would get angry. And people would say, why is he getting angry? He was a great devotee. Well, it was necessary for Prabhupada to get angry. Prabhupada would get angry with people who were into impersonal or Mayavad philosophy to teach them a lesson. To teach the devotees the lesson. So the Brahman is not controlled by anger, and he's willing to forgive, but he's also aware of what's best for that particular individual, like Narada Muni did with Manigriva and Nalakubra.
Can I ask one other question?
Yes, sir.
So regarding the cow, the one cow that was given to the first Brahmana, wasn't it because a cow is not only a possession, the cow is also a living entity considered like mother that is due protection from her protector. So wasn't the first Brahmin responsible for protecting her from wandering off?
Yeah, but sometimes you can try your best to protect someone and you're not able to do it. You know, you're responsible insofar as your ability is concerned. Just like, for example, you may say, isn't the guru responsible for protecting his disciples from Maya?
Hmm.
Right? Yeah, he's responsible, but, you know, what can they do, you know? He's not the supreme controller either. So, you know, you say, oh, it's the guru's fault I fell into Maya because he wasn't protecting Maya. No, that's a good excuse. All right.
Thank you, Gurudev.
Okay, into the question in the chat window here. Let's see. I think we have two questions. How did King Nrga develop a desire to see the Lord? It was due to his material piety, as mentioned. It wasn't due to his material piety. It was due just to his association. It must have been some association with devotees. You know, some devotional inclination only comes about through devotional association from association with devotees. I mean, it's naturally Krishna bhakti is naturally in the heart, but is only awakened through association. So there must have been some association. That's not mentioned. Material piety doesn't attract the mercy of the Lord. It attracts the material opulence, but it attracts the mercy of the Lord. I mean, just like take the example of Magrari the hunter. I mean, he was just like completely impious. I mean, he's really impious. So he got the mercy of a devotee in spite of being unqualified. So you see some, or Haridas Thakur and the prostitute. Somehow or other, got the mercy of a devotee. So material piety doesn't attract the mercy of the Lord. It attracts the mercy of, I mean, sometimes a devotee can think, oh, he's really pious. He's going to be a good candidate. But actually, according to Krishna and the Gita, then he becomes attached to the happiness of the mode of goodness. All right, here's another question. We'll do cash. Yes, giving donations to Vaishnavas is fine. King Nrga was very fortunate. We all do it to Srila Prabhupada knew, but very stubborn to change, yes. Okay, who else has a question?
Hare Krishna, Gurudev.
Shamapriya. Yeah, so what's the question, Shamapriya?
Well, we were having a discussion with devotees, and I didn't have an answer to this question. And the question was, when we go back to Godhead or a soul goes, they have to join Krishna in a place where he's having his pastimes, not exactly Goloka Vrindavan. Is that right?
That's correct. Generally that's the case. There may be exceptions made, but generally that's the case. Prabhupada said you go to wherever in the material universe Krishna is enacting his pastimes, basically to get ready and trained up so you can go back to Goloka Vrindavan. I mean, obviously, yeah, you're not really ready to go back to Goloka Vrindavan. You got to really get into your particular position. I mean, even though you're completely pure,
Mhm.
you need some basic experience before you go back. You know, otherwise you arrive back there and say, you know, where's the toilet? I'm not even say where's the toilet. You say, I made that up. You would say, where's the kitchen? Like
So,
that.
so then when you are in the particular place where Krishna is having his pastime, then is that where you truly develop your
Yes.
actual rasa or relationship.
No,
Yes.
your relationship is developed even in this lifetime. That's called Jivan Mukta. But as far as the details, all the details and everything like that is fully trained up when you
Right.
actually go to Krishna's pastimes are.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Gurudev.
Okay, thank you. All right, who else has a question?
Gurudev, please accept my humble obeisances.
Okay. Rakesh, so what's the question?
The question is, Gurudev, what you just described right now is a Ragatmika Bhakti. So my question is Ragatmika Bhakti is only in the footstep of Vraj Bhumi devotees, or it could be Mathura devotees?
What I'm describing is Ragatmika Bhakti. What I'm describing is everyone
No, is
describes.
it in Ragatmika like following in the footstep of the pure devotee? Then you
Following,
go
that
up
means
there.
following in the footsteps of a pure devotee is called Raganuga Bhakti.
Then Ragatmika Bhakti is that when you go up there and you
Ragatmika devotee is one who's already pure. Like, all the devotees in the spiritual world. And so a Raganuga devotee, or one following the Raganuga process, would be following the footsteps of a Ragatmika devotee. Like
and those devotees could be outside Vrindavan though.
Yeah. Pure devotees. Yeah, you can follow the footsteps of a Krura if you wish. Well, he goes to Vrindavan once in a while. Or you can follow the footsteps of, what's the name of Devaki? Well, that's Devaki, but spontaneous is spontaneous devotional service.
Yes.
Spontaneous devotional service.
Thank you, Gurudev. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, who else has a question? Anyone else have a question before? Actually, time to end. Sorry about that. Thank you very much. All glories to His Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. We'll see you tomorrow for the next chapter, which is Lord Balaram Goes to Vrindavan.